What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back, and I hope y'all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, as today we will be reviewing, yet again, the top Pokemon card auctions of the week. This week, some good, some bad, and some downright ugly auctions. We're going to take a look at all of those and more, so please stay tuned. Folks, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Please give this video a like, and please consider being a subscriber if you're not already. And if you haven't heard, I open up a membership option if you'd like to join. It's 99 cents a month. I got some badges and some really funny emojis you can get, so it's a great way to support the channel. Pretty inexpensive too, so consider doing that as well. I'd really appreciate it. Now folks, may I just say this week's auction recap will consist of only eBay auctions, so there won't be any PWCC, Heritage, Golden auctions. For various reasons, this week's auction recap, just eBay. So let's take a look at these eBay auctions, starting off with the ugly this week, which is the PSA 10 Charizard V Black Star promo that you get out of the Champions Path Elite Trainer box. I believe this card has officially bottomed out. I wasn't sure it ever would. If you don't know, this is the most graded Pokemon card of all time, having 38,039 PSA 10 examples. And that's just through PSA. That's just Gem Mint 10s. So this is the most graded card of all time in Pokemon. And it was selling for at least $40 in auction every time. Sometimes even more. But this week we have several examples of it selling for $22.50. And in all honesty, folks, I can't believe it did not get to this price sooner, having this many Gem Mint copies available. What do y'all think of these prices? $22.50? Is that dirt cheap enough for you? Do you think it can go even lower? Let me know. Continuing on with some more ugly business, here's a Charizard VMAX from Darkness Ablaze. Also a very heavily graded card. Many PSA 10s available. This week, one sold for only $91. So this card is suffering the same fate as the Charizard V, just too much saturation of PSA 10 examples hitting the market. Here we have a Radiant Eevee promo from the Pokemon Go set. Eevee just doesn't quite hit as hard in the promo category as Charizard does. When you go back to Shining Fates with the Eevee VMAX, I think it was Eevee VMAX. Yeah, the Eevee VMAX promo from Shining Fates, it never really skyrocketed in price, and neither is this. This week, a PSA 10 example sold for about $46.99. And some more ugly business. Last week, we covered a bunch of the Charizard promos from the Charizard Ultra Premium Collection box, particularly the CGC 10 Charizard VMAX, which I believe last week sold for about $370. This week, one sold for about $203. So a significant decrease in that grade for this card as well. We'll keep an eye on these promos for weeks to come, but yeah, not looking too good so far. And here, folks, I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but it's certainly interesting. It is a Gengar Holo from Breakthrough set that sold as a Gem Mint 10 for $305 this week. Yeah, not really sure what else to say about it. I think that's phenomenally high for a regular holo from a modern set, even if it is Gengar. I don't know. Now on to some alternate art sales, starting with this Giratina V from Lost Origins. In PSA 10, we saw a couple sales, one for $550, another for $560. And then lastly, here is one for $590. So this Giratina V is still hitting at a pretty healthy price, if you ask me. Here is the Latios and Latios GX alternate art card from Team Up set. This week, sold as a Gem Mint 10 for $1,250. And this card has always been a fan favorite. And I told y'all it was a matter of time until this card went over $1,000. This week it sold for $1,250. We saw a couple sales of the Moonbreon in PSA 10. It's a slow bleed, this card. It was selling for over $1,000 not too long ago. Last week it was like around the $900 mark. This week one sold for $810, another one $880. Still a very valuable card, but I think we're gonna see the price come down a bit more as the influx of PSA 10s keep hitting the market. Here we have the Lugia V alternate art from Silver Tempest. The first time we've seen it in PSA 10. We saw a few sales this week. One sold for $720, $790. Here's one that sold for $850, while another one sold for $850 as well. Here's one that sold for $860. And lastly, we saw one sell for $1,035 for a PSA 10. And folks, this is actually an Auctions of the Week contender. It is a black label Japanese Lugia V alt art that sold for $7,599. So community, which one do you think would sell for more? An English black label Lugia V or a Japanese black label Lugia V? Let me know. Alright, on to a couple more modern cards. Here's a Pikachu VMAX Rainbow Rare from Vivid Voltage, hitting an all-time low as a PSA 10, at least from what I've seen, selling for $285 this week. And then we saw a black label Charizard GX sell this week for $3,150. And then lastly, for the modern segment, here is a lot of 12 different Sword and Shield booster boxes. I believe base set all the way through Brilliant Stars, maybe. All 12 of these boxes sold for $1,775. We have several old school EX cards that came by. Here's an Electabuzz EX from Ruby and Sapphire set, sold for $360. Here's a Magmar EX that sold for $343. Here's a Hitmonchan EX, sold for $1,300 this week. A Shiftry EX sold for $326. Kabutops, $322. Regirock EX sold for $355, and then the Regice sold for $353. Here are some graded cards we haven't really seen before. It's a Giratina Holo card from Platinum Series, sold for $1,525. And then we saw this Dialga, also from Platinum, that sold for $630. Here is a beautiful Leafeon from Diamond and Pearl Majestic Dawn that sold for $2,125. Woo! We also saw several high-price reverse holographics. Here's a Dark Gyarados reverse foil from EX Team Rocket Returns that sold for $445. Here's a Magikarp from the same set selling for an even $1,000. Here's a reverse holo Legendary Collection Magikarp that sold for $1,325. And the reverse holo Psyduck from Legendary Collection sold for $840. And lastly, we saw a CGC10 reverse holo Electrode that sold for $406.99. Here we have a few interesting Japanese sales. Here is a Japanese Mew EX from Dragon Blast set, sold for $586. Here is a poncho-wearing Pikachu featuring a Gyarados poncho that sold as a PSA 10 for $1,970. Here is that Sightseer card, much like the Moonbreon, continues to come down just a little bit. This week we saw two sales of a PSA 10. One sold for $1,060, another sale for $1,075. And then here are two of the legendary birds from the red and green gift set. These are beautiful Japanese cards. Here is a PSA 10 Articuno holo that sold for $940, while the Zapdos sold for $810. Here is a first edition Japanese Stormfront Charmander card that sold for $425. Here's a BGS 10 Pikachu Scream card, sold for $3,400 this week. And here is a Charizard Prism card that sold for $2,125. Here we saw a Japanese Crystal Lugia sell for $6,100. And then here is a complete master set of the 2001 Web Series cards. All 48 cards, all PSA 10, sold for $8,500. Up next is an Art Academy Tangrowth card in PSA 10 that sold for an even $5,000. We saw this Blastoise card from Black and White Plasma Storm that sold for $1,300. And then we saw this first edition base set Charmander signed by Mitsuhiro Arita, autograph graded a 10, and it sold for $415. And then here is a first edition Funard, which is the French Ninetales holo that sold as a PSA 10 for $1,650. And then the auction of the week is going to go to this PSA 9 Mega Charizard EX from Evolutions that sold for $11,100. Nah, I'm just kidding. I gotta throw a ridiculous auction in once in a while. No, this was not a legitimate sale. It was very much shill bidded out the wazoo. I'm going to give the auction of the week instead to this PSA 10 first edition Jungle Snorlax. It sold for an even $7,000. So I guess you could say this Snorlax and that Black Label Lugia V, both of those auctions of the week. Thank you so much for watching, folks. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Let me know what you thought about the auctions. I'd really appreciate it. That's all I got. Catch y'all on my next one.